What is up, math superstars? In this edition of Mr. Peterson Presents, I'm bringing to you Objective 6.14. This is how to make circle graphs. So before you get started, what you're going to need is you're going to need calculator and you're going to need some kind of straight edge. So if you have a ruler, if you have a protractor to use that has a straight edge on it, whatever you can get to get a straight edge, you're going to need it today in making circle graphs. Let's go over some useful information to know about circle graphs. So this is a type of graph used to compare, so your filling is part to whole comparisons. So what we do is we look at the whole and we're going to break it up into parts. This is when we're going to use a circle graph. So circle graphs, they include percents. So these are the part to whole, but we're going to look at percents. So there's a total of 360 total degrees in a circle. And so we mark degrees with that little circle next to the number. So that's going to be useful is we have to figure out what the degree measurements are for the parts. But in a circle graph, we know that when we deal with the percentages, all the percentages, when you add them together, should come up to 100%. So now the objective for you today is you're going to be given a data chart and you're going to have to make some circle graphs with this data here. And so right now we have several students that were polled for their favorite sports. And so right here in the total box, you need to figure out the total number of students. So our total number of students that were polled here is 60. The way I got that is I did 10 plus 30 plus 20. And what we're going to do now is let's go and figure out the ratios. So the ratios is a fraction that we're going to use. So we're going to part the whole. So we have 10 over 60. And we have for baseball. Then we have 30 over 60 for soccer. And we have football is 20 over 60. In the total here, when you add up all of these fractions together, 10 plus 30 plus 20, you should get 60 over 60 down here. And you know something, you're like, wait, Mr. Peterson, you didn't simplify this. So if I simplify these, so let's go ahead and simplify them. This is going to simplify, 10 over 60 simplifies to 1/6. So what we can do is, in making a circle graph, we're really going to try to get the fractions with a common denominator. So I bet you that if I divided the top and bottom of both my fractions by 10, that's how I got 1/6. And so let's go ahead and divide the top and bottom of each one of the fractions by 10. So I'm going to get 3/6. We know that's equal to 1/2 if we fully simplify it. But if I divide the top and bottom by 10, that's going to give us 2/6. So we can see that baseball received 1/6 of the vote, soccer received 3/6 or half of the vote, and football received 2/6 or a third. So this is going to be really important when we make our circle graph here, is that we're going to make our circle graph with 6 parts, and we're going to start shading them in. But we need to figure out some other data here. And so we have decimal percent in degrees. So for decimal, all you're going to do is you're going to take your handy dandy calculator and you're going to do the numerator, which is 1, and you're going to press the divided by symbol, and then 6, and press the equal sign. You can see that comes out to 0.16666666667. So what you're going to do for this one, the decimal, what you're going to do is we're going to keep it to the thousandths place. So we're just going to do 0.16, and we're going to round up the thousandths to the seventh place. You're going to do 3/6 or half. If you do 3 divided by 6 in the calculator, it gives you the nice happy decimal 0.5. And then 2/6, we know that's a third, but if I did 2 divided by 6 in the calculator, it gives you 0.3333, and it goes on forever. So let's go ahead and go to the thousandths place. So 0.333. And when you add up all these decimals together, if we didn't happen to If we didn't happen to round, it would come out to an even number, but since we rounded, if we did 0.167 plus 0.5 plus 0.333, it does. It gets us super duper duper close to the decimal 1.000. So we got our decimal down. This is just a review of fraction, decimal, percent. We're moving and grooving to the percent column here. So in the percents, what we do is we take our decimal, 0.167, and let's go ahead and move our decimal point 2 places to the right. Gives us the percent as 16.7%, chose baseball. So if we did 0.5, let's go ahead and add our 0 in the hundredths place. So when we move it 2 place values, 1/2 is the same as 50%. And then let's take 0.333, move our decimal 2 place values to the right. That gives us 33.3%. And when we add up all 3 of these percents together, it should get us super duper close to 100%. And then we have this last column of degrees. So this is how big each part is using degrees. And so we know that in our circle is 360 degrees. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply that by our decimal, 0.167. What's going to happen when we do that? That's going to tell us the angle measurement is pretty close to, if I did it correctly, with 0.167 times 360 degrees gives us an angle measurement of about 60 degrees. If I was going to do soccer, so soccer is 0.5 times 360 degrees. So let's go and do that in our calculator. Should give us 180 degrees. And now let's go ahead and do a third. So 0.333 times 360. So I'm going to write that out so you can see it. I need to show my work even though I'm using a calculator. Comes out to 119, we'd say 119 or 120.8 degrees. And so if we're going to go ahead and add these 3 totals together, they should come out to super duper close to, grand total should be really close to 360 degrees. And if you get something in the calculator like 359.88 or 0.7, if you're really close but off by a degree, that means you rounded and that's okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this data here and now we're going to go ahead and create our circle graph. So we're going to remember, we're going to really focus on the ratio column when we create this with the fractions 1/6, 3/6, and 2/6. So right now we have our circle graph. Here it's blank. We need to do some work with it. And so right now we have to label our circle graph. So let's go ahead and do favorite sports. So with our favorite sports, we had 3 sports. We had baseball. We had soccer. And we had football. So if you remember, you're looking at your notes, the fractions for those. For baseball was 1/6. For soccer was 3/6. And for football was 2/6. So we're going to focus on making 6 equal parts with our circle graph here. And so just like we did when in the video, the first part of this video where we did the fractional parts, what we're going to do is we're going to start by making thirds. So this is our peace sign. So remember, let's go ahead and make our third pieces out here. So I'm making my thirds. But we need to make sure our denominator is 6. We need to have 6 pieces in our circle graph. So let's go ahead now and make out our 6 pieces. Here we're trying the best we can to make them as equal as possible. You can see I kind of didn't, but I'm close. I got 6 equal, pretty close to equal parts. And what we're going to do next now that we have our circle graph cut into our equal parts of 6, let's go ahead and do some shading and coloring. So for this one, you can pick different colors, you can draw different designs in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose 3 different colors here. So baseball for me is going to be blue. So I'm going to color in my little circle blue. And I need to have one part of my circle graph to be baseball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shade in my part for baseball. And I'm going to label this part right here. This is going to be baseball. Nice. And so I already did my color for baseball. So let's go ahead and do my color for soccer. I'm going to make soccer purple. Soccer gets 3 equal parts here. So let's go ahead and make soccer 3 parts. So here's my first part. You can make yours as beautiful as you want. For mine, I'm just kind of doing lines because coloring it on my screen will take forever. But ta-da, I have 3 parts here for the sport of soccer. And last but not least, I have football. I'm going to make that green. It's my favorite football team. Color is green. If you don't know football, it's okay. But if you're a Redskins fan, I'm sorry. But here we need to make 2 equal parts here for football, I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and I got 1 part. And I got 2 parts here for football. So that's going to be my football section. So you can see here is all I did was I took my data, I found common denominators. All my fractions here had the common denominator 6. I cut my circle into 6 equal parts the best I could, and then I colored them in and I labeled them appropriately. So I'm using my key here. The colors tell me that the blue is baseball, the purple is soccer, and the green is football. So what you're going to do is you're going to use these steps. Your first step is to take care of your data chart. The second step is actually getting to draw out your circle graph, cutting equal parts, and labeling it appropriately.